Welcome to Thriving in Construction, where we share insights, inspire growth, and break down barriers in the construction industry. I am your host, Patricia Bonilla, CEO of Lunacon Construction Group. Let's build a brighter future together. Welcome to Thriving in Construction, the podcast. Today, we're joined by Ginger Sepulveda, a fourth-generation general contractor and the founder of GCJ Inc., an award-winning firm recognized for quality and integrity in construction. Since 2008, Ginger has led GCJ to new heights, navigating federal contracting and breaking barriers as a woman-owned business across California, Nevada, and Oregon. As a graduate of the AIDER program, DOE Mentor Protege program, she set powerful new standards in the industry. Join us as we explore her inspiring journey, uncovering the lessons learned while leading a successful business and setting new standards for women in construction. So, Ginger, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I know we're 2 or 3 hours away, right?
Yeah, it's, what time is it? About 12:15 here. Yeah, it's noon.
Yes, noon. So, wow, I met you, was it 4 months ago?
Yeah, March.
In California, when we participated in a book together, Latinas in Construction. And it was so nice to meet someone that is such an incredible entrepreneur, someone that inherited a business from your dad, which is not standard. Not every woman or daughter is allowed the chance to run a construction company, and many times they don't even want to know about the company. So a lot of the credit I give to your father, who was able to be your mentor, and believe you, this is not frequent, and that you have been able to grow the company and be successful even when he's not directly involved in the business at this point. The other thing that I found peculiar in you is that you have a business background, not a construction background. And you have been very successful. And that you are married, working also with your husband. You have 3 kids?
Three boys. Yep.
And you're also in the federal program and have grown your company that way. When I met you, I was very impressed. And I still am. I was very honored to meet you. And I'm very, very honored to present you here in Thriving in Construction, the podcast. Thank you for accepting our invitation to share your journey, your story. And this is just a free forum. We're just going to flow here with your experience. And hopefully we're going to be able to allow our listeners to be inspired by not only your smile, your intellect, but your ability to thrive in the construction industry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I will say I instantly felt connected to you. After reading your story, which was, we had a lot of similarities. And then, of course, meeting you, just like I said, I just want to give you a hug right now.
Virtual.
Uh-huh.
We'll do this in person one day.
We will.
Yes. So tell me about you. I know more about the journey, but tell our listeners, how do you get inspired to be in an industry that is typically not something women gravitate into? What happened?
For me, I actually had no intention of going into the family business, into the construction industry whatsoever. I really did gravitate towards business. I worked at a bank for a really long time. I got my business degree. But I had my oldest son, and I wanted to work somewhere where I could make my own hours. I could take my child to work with me, and a family business was pretty much the only place where I could get that. So I started working for my father's company, and I had of course, worked with him and for him off and on since I was a child, like most people in the family business do. And really I always say that he somehow had this master plan for me to take over the company that he secretly never told anybody, including myself, about, because I started off with the typical woman in construction tasks. I was doing payroll, I was running contracts, I was filing, I was an administrative assistant. And then slowly I was helping the estimator that we had. I became really my dad's project engineer, writing his RFIs and his submittals. And he just was like, just secretly training me to get involved in the construction side. And he already was working for the federal government a lot. Where we're at, there's federal installations all around us. And he had heard about the 8A program, but my father didn't qualify for that. And he's like, you could run your own business. You shouldn't be working for me anyways. Go do your own thing. And so in 2008, I was like super naive and thinking I could do anything and it would be easy. I have a business background. I can start a business. I'm in the construction industry. I have connections. Sure. So I did.
You know how to do RFIs and submittals, so what else is there, right?
Yeah, I was like 20 something at the time. I thought I knew everything. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I did. I just went and started a construction company, took the test, got my license, and had a very rude awakening that no one wanted to work with me as a business owner. They would answer my phone calls all day as Carl's daughter who was requesting stuff for Gowan Construction, but as Ginger, owner of GCJ, all of a sudden I'm not getting my emails answered. And so I just really kind of stumbled into it by accident almost, and then just really fell in love with it because now I'm much more on the construction side than on the business side. And when I started, it was the exact opposite.
Yeah. And how long did it take from the time that you were working with your dad to the time that you actually started your business?
So let's see. So I worked like full-time under him for 5 years before I started my company. And then it was another 2 years before I really knew what I was doing. 7 years, I would say, of really being under his wing before I could hold my own. And even then, I'm like feverishly taking notes during meetings so I could ask questions and look things up later, but just nodding my head, acting like I knew what everyone was talking about.
Yeah. And so when you became, would you say the 8A program, how did it help you? How did the 8A program helps you get to where you are today? Where were you and where did it get you to?
The 8A program was huge for us, and I remember going after it and getting declined after our first application and being like, no, I know that I qualify for this. I know I deserve it. I know I can utilize it. And so going back and reapplying with the documentation they had requested. And I remember getting the approval, and I was like 8 months pregnant with my middle child. I remember running down the stairs and telling my husband and being so excited, thinking my world was going to change. And it didn't. It didn't. I had the certification, and for probably 2 years, I did not capitalize on it. I didn't have any connections, or I had very few, and the connections I did have didn't know how to utilize it. And so then I just started networking. I just started going to different Army Corps events and things like that where I knew that they were doing 8A contracting. And I met a marketing manager who worked on an hourly basis. So his goal was never to get me a project. And his goal was to get my foot in the door and so I could meet people, which was what I wanted. I didn't want the one project. I wanted to make the relationship and get all the projects. And so he would take me out and we marketed for probably a year and a half solid before anything came of it. And then after that, the floodgates just opened. I would get the one project and it would turn into, I'm still working with most of these agencies, these multi-year, long-term relationships. And really a lot of it I couldn't have done without the 8A. It really got my foot in the door. And then where you take it from there is up to you after that. You have to perform.
Are you a graduate already?
Yeah, I graduated last year.
Awesome. And now it's transitioning out of the program. And the good thing is that you perform such a good job that you still keep those clients with you.
Yeah, and we're still a small business. So we're 236220 is our NICS code. We're still considered a small business under that code, and we're a woman-owned small business. It's still a smaller pool of contractors when you stay in that little niche, which is where we want to stay.
Can you share revenue-wise, where were you when you started the program and where are you today, more or less?
Oh, huge difference. We probably, when we started, were maybe $1 to $2 million annually. And we're in a weird transitional phase right now because we did just acquire Gowan Construction. But prior to that, we were averaging anywhere between 10 to 15 million. And then now with the acquisition of my father's company, which really we couldn't have done without kind of that buildup, we're probably going to jump to a $25, $35 million range in the next 2 years.
Awesome. That's awesome. So your father, not only he got you started to learn in your company, but he also set you up so you could buy him out.
Yeah, I was his retirement plan.
So he didn't even have to get you to work in his company, and he actually incentivized it. It created a journey for you to do your own thing, develop the confidence, develop the cash flow, develop the equity, so you could acquire him.
Yes, yeah. And he was there every step of the way. Anytime I had a question, needed help, someone wasn't taking my phone calls, I go, Dad, so-and-so won't even answer my phone call. And he'd pick up the phone. I hear my daughter is trying to get a hold of you.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. I think we all can copy a little bit. I want to interview your dad now.
Oh, he would love that. You let me know.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's a beautiful story because I think fathers and mothers, and we have visions, but the fact that you're saying he probably knew it all along, and I would say he did, because he had a plan, he had a vision, not a plan. Mm-hmm. He had a vision and a deep enough why to do this, but the way he did it was brilliant because he allowed you to create your own story of success. This is what I'm hearing and what I see. Many people, they put the person there because they are 8As. He didn't even go to the route of creating a company that was not the right thing. He's an integral man, but he also respects women in such a way that he created a platform for you to shine with your own qualities without doing the way he did it. And then now you can even scale even more. My hat is off to him. Wait, let me take the hat off. This is incredible. I didn't know this. And I have to say that, what's his name?
Carl,
my respect. You are a brilliant man. And I always say, women in general, we all need that father figure that has set the direction in your life. But he allowed you to believe, especially those years that you were a little, I'm doing my own thing, to believe that you were really doing your own thing. And all along, you had this guide and mentor that was cheering for you, no matter how, if you failed, no matter what you did. I have goosebumps. And that's a story people need to hear because the success is in your eyes. And I'm sure he is the best cheerleader you could ever have, besides your husband, because I think you have another one.
Oh, yes. My husband's definitely my biggest cheerleader and my biggest support. But yeah, my dad is right there next to him every step of the way.
So beautiful to hear. And I'm sure you exemplify the level of gratitude that I know you have for them.
Oh, I'm so lucky. I appreciate just everybody that supported me, supports me, got me. It's not like I just got here by myself. It takes a huge team and a community to accomplish anything.
That's pretty humble from you, but I do know that where you are has a lot to do for what you did, because nobody could have made you do it. They opened the doors. He created a vision. And yes, we need people around us to believe in us. That's important for success. But I know no matter what, you would have gotten where you are because of who you are. Definitely, the level at which you are is a representation of your hard work and dedication. And I would like for you to share, what do you think in your making got you to where you are today?
Aside from all of the support that I have and I had, I would say really knowing what I don't know, I feel like been the biggest thing that's got me where I am, because I see so many people just in general in life, in the industry, that no one knows everything, but they act like they know everything. And I'm like, well, you're never going to learn, and you're not going to get better if you don't accept that you still need to learn and you still need to improve. And there's just always opportunities to learn from everybody. Like, I go into every project. What am I going to learn on this project? Am I going to learn from my client? Am I going to learn from an apprentice? Am I going to learn from, the construction manager, the engineer? And I really think that open-mindedness to continuing to grow has got me where I am. And it makes me open to hearing other ideas too, which is really important, because I work in an office and my partners are men, and they both have a very heavy construction background. And so they're like, well, we should do it like this, and we should build it like this. I'm like, but you're not out there building it. What do the guys that are out there building it think? Do you ask them? I almost feel like my lack of field construction knowledge is actually one of my kind of secret weapons, because I don't go in there with this perceived notion of how things are going to happen. I'm like, okay, this is what we got to do. How are we going to get it done? Let's figure it out.
So I hear that because you didn't really start, you have a business background more than anything, or you had, and you're not the one that knows how to do all the pieces in the field, and you don't have that. You have a license, but you're not the one getting it done out there in the field. You value them. I hear that you allow them to be empowered. You empower them. But I also hear you go in with a learner's attitude and a humble attitude, and that is crucial for leadership. So let me ask you, do you hire people just like you? In other words, with those set of values, humble, learning, growing, how do you hire your team, whether it's in the field or whether it's in the office?
So I definitely do look for team members that are continuous learners, that can really self-reflect on what they need to improve on, what their strengths and their weaknesses are. For the field, we're signatory to the carpenters unions. In some respects, we might just get somebody that's sent over to us. But I will say, in the last year, I've really been trying to refine our team, because I want to make sure that we all do have those same values and are putting out that same image. And so we have been fostering those types of attitudes in the field and in the office. And I have seen, where are we at, September, in the last 9 months, we have lost some longtime employees that wasn't the attitude they had. They were very, I'm right, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to do it my way. And it just doesn't fit in an industry where no one can do it by themselves. You have to rely on your team. And people don't want to work for somebody that's just going to demand that they do things one way and not be open to listening to other ideas of how to accomplish a common goal.
What I hear, because I was going to ask you a question just like that, because when you have been doing it for a long time this way, and you know people in our industry that they're very knowledgeable in how to get it done, and I call them solopreneurs, because they can run a project right on their own, where they are the decision maker for everything, and they do a good job. They get it done. Now, how they get there is the question, and sometimes that is detrimental to the whole organization. You have been able to recognize that probably, is it because you were hiring new talent, that younger talent? Did it cause you damage to have somebody that you know they can perform. However, the whole organization was suffering for other reasons because of this, how this person behaved. What happened? How do you do it? Because you said we lost them. How did you get to having them and not having them later?
Right. So I'll say for some, they did come in with the mentality that of being open and learning, and then just got to a position and a point where they're like, "Oh, I've made it. I don't need to listen and I don't need to learn anymore." And so that's how I think they got to where they were. And then for us, we lost them. Luckily, I kind of recognized it before it got to a point where it was detrimental to the company and our image. When somebody starts stressing me out like every day, I know that they're not the right fit. It's normal stress by an employee because of a project or a situation. That's to be expected. But when they are just stressing me out every day, oh, what are they going to do today? What are they not going to do today? What are they doing today? Can I trust them to do that today? Then it's not the right fit.
Or the way I say it, also, we started recognizing patterns that emotionally disturb us. We're trying to get the company from this level to that level, and somebody shows up, and you're waking up. Like for me, I wake up, and if I think about an employee when I'm in the bathroom, that's a sign for me.
Yeah, it's a bad sign.
Yeah, it's not the right time. If I think about someone that is causing me stress and I'm just trying to relax, or I wake up and the first thing I think about is this person, oh my gosh, in my bed, like in my, how do you say it? That doesn't sound right, but
yes, yeah. When you're supposed to not be thinking about work.
I'm trying to rest, right? Not good. And I've had this enough where I'm like, oh my gosh. Or what about people? What else? How do you recognize it too? They're starting to stress you out. What else do you do? What else happens to you that makes you feel maybe we didn't hire right?
I think maybe this is where being a woman in construction is beneficial, because it's like a women's intuition. Like you start micromanaging them a little bit more than you normally would someone in that position. You start maybe scrutinizing their tags or their time a little bit more than you do anybody else. Like it's just like this feeling. So maybe they're not stressing me out, but I'm just not feeling that complete trust that I really like to give every employee when they start. Like, I want to give them that trust and respect right away until I don't. And then I'm like, okay, I don't. Why? And then I'll start looking for the reasons why, and then you kind of usually find them.
And so when somebody's not a fit, and it could be because it was not the proper hire, or because the company changed, now you're more complex, you're growing, and this person is not adapting to the changes. Now you realize you're measuring more and you were measuring before. This person cannot absorb the fact that now you want data on performance. It's not a field. When and now we're talking probably even intuition, that oh my gosh, maybe this is not the right fit, and nobody likes to let anybody go. How long does it take you typically to make the decision that is actually done and this person is no longer with you? Does it take you a long time? How long does that take? Because that's a struggle for business owners.
Yeah, I've had a couple situations this year alone, which is like the most it's happened to me in my career in this last year. And the first one of the year took me a little while. Like I really struggled with it. And then after that one, I felt such a huge sense of relief. After I was like, why didn't I trust myself sooner? Why did I try and make this work relationship work as long as I did, when it just was, I was so relieved. So then when the other situations arose, it was like literally, I went to my partners. I was like, I'm just feeling this way about this person. I know myself. It's not going to change. I worked with this person long enough to know they're not going to change. We need to just part ways. And it was like days. So after I realized that I can trust myself and I need to, I've not even delayed it one bit, because I know that it's just a huge relief after.
That was a good learning then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that affect your financials then? Did you notice a change in your performance as a company, in the efficiency of the company before and after? Was there any change?
I did. Yeah, I did. On those projects, they performed better. Yeah, they performed better. They were faster. They got completed faster. I brought in trusted employees to finish those and got huge compliments on them. Whereas before, it's not that they were complaining, but it was just like, oh, these projects are just kind of chugging along, status quo. And then I bring in someone new, and even the client notices, oh, so-and-so is doing fabulous. They're so great. And I'm like, oh, you're saying that because so-and-so before them wasn't so great.
Yeah. Yeah, because typically they don't really give those feedbacks unless it's totally the truth, like we're never going to work with you, so we're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yep.
And many times we assume the client is going to be upset if we make a change in stuff. But I find that it's totally the opposite. Because if you feel it, they feel it too.
Yeah. And I think they appreciated it. In some cases, we're like, oh, okay, I like working with her, and she recognized an issue and she took care of it. We didn't even need to say anything.
Yeah,
and she fixed it.
That's huge. That speaks volume of you and your business, and obviously it speaks of your success. So tell me about challenge. You've been in business for how long?
Since 2008. So what is that? 16 years?
Just like we're like sisters. I started in 2007. We started in 2007, and now we're about to have another birthday in January. So you're my little sister.
Yes, and you graduated the 8A program too. I know. Yeah, we have a lot in common.
So what was the biggest challenge? Besides the academics, let's say, is there a moment in time where you felt maybe we're not going to make it? Maybe our business is not going to make it, or this is going to be really hard to do. If you can identify a moment, tell us a little bit about it, and how did you overcome it?
So to feel that I wasn't going to make it, or this wasn't what I was supposed to do, that feeling I think just isn't in me. Like never a moment like that, but definitely moments where I'm like, why did I do this? What am I doing? What did I get myself into? Do I really want to do this? And I would say there was this one project that I was like, can I just walk away and just let my bonding company finish this project? I don't even want to deal with this person anymore. It was just this one project. It was an 8A sole source project, and we negotiated it. They didn't negotiate scope out. They were just like, hey, we can't afford it. Where can you maybe tighten up, sharpen your pencil, as they like to say, right? Where can you sharpen your pencil here? But we're not going to change the scope. You just see what you could do. And it's in this remote area, so it's not like we could just run down to the White Cap or the Home Depot and pick up materials. We were having to really pre-plan and pre-order our materials in a very snowy area. So there was a lot of stuff that we just aren't used to building, for these snowy climates, or not where I'm at anyways. And a project manager who loved to dictate our means and methods. Like she knew how to do everything. She wanted it done her way. She was one of those people that didn't need to learn anything anymore. She knew it all, and she wanted it done her way. And it was like, thank God at the time I had the most patient project engineer. She was amazing, and she really got me through that project, because there would be times where I'd be like, Abigail, I can't even talk to this lady right now. I need you to talk to her. Because she would call me. I'd be like, Abigail, I'm not answering her phone call. I can't even talk to her right now. And my project engineer would call her for me, because that's how upset she would make me. But I never wanted to lose my composure and let her feel like she got the best of me. So my project engineer would be like, okay, what do you need? And I mean, it got so bad that I pulled in my SBA representative to try and assist me to get through this. And when I made that call to the SBA, and I was like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. This person is totally unreasonable. Well, come to find out, this person had a reputation. And I wasn't the first person to say this. And I was like, what did you get me into? But luckily my SBA rep was amazing, and so she did what she could, and we got through it. But yeah, that one project was tough.
So who negotiated the budget though? they did not have the money to do, because one of the things that I find that happens, many uneducated clients, they unsophisticated, meaning they're not educated. They don't value the work contractors do, or trade partners. They just don't value it. They see it as a low grade type of work. They see themselves as very smart people, and what they do, with their bodies is not important. There's no value, no recognition. So they think it can just, I don't know, be done with, I don't have the money, but you're the owner. This is your project. Every time a project is set up without the budget, it's very, very, very easy that it's gonna fail. I think our industry, one of the things that I think our industry needs to change. A client can set up a project to fail, and they don't have a lot of accountability. If accountability is not part of their culture as an entity, as a business, then they get hidden in the fact that we are bonded and we have the burden of proof. So if you find someone that they don't have the budget, they're not sophisticated, they have that ego type of dictator leadership, the one that knows, and they're not accountable, they don't have the guts to, call it as it, do the right thing, then we have to prove it. It just costs so much money and aggravation, because you get word from other projects. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself during this experience? I believe that the biggest challenges that we attract to our lives, I think we attract them. We need to learn for the next level. Who did you become in this process that you needed? Maybe you needed to go through this because you were going to go through something else and you were prepared. What was the story of success that this challenge had in your journey as a business owner? And for where you are today in your company, I mean, you just acquired a company, and congratulations.
It's funny that you ask it like that, because I've never thought of it like that. But now that you have me thinking about it like that, it actually did teach me a lot. And what it did teach me is, one, there's no amount of money that's going to get me to work for somebody that shows me their colors before I even started. Like, I should have saw the writing on the wall when we were negotiating, and there was no give and take. It was just like, you give me and I'll take it. And so I think from that have developed a knowledge, like you said, what we provide is worth. And if they're not willing to pay that, then they can find somebody else that's willing to give it to them for what they're looking for. And because I've had situations since then where a client might ask, and a client that I like, that I have relationships with, might be like, hey, is there any way that you can bring the cost down? And now my answer is no. Do you want to change the scope? We can value engineer it. What can we maybe cut out? Maybe we can make this an alternate, and we can reevaluate that later. But I don't change. I don't reevaluate our costs for any reason other than scope changes since then.
So what did you learn about yourself? Because you made a decision in that process, and I know, because we've gone through this, okay? This is not something that just happened to you, I believe you. As you talk about it, we've been there. And when you go to the past to evaluate, if you learn from it, then you lost money and aggravation and time, but you learn. Every time I go through something like that, I ask myself, what am I learning here? What did you learn about yourself and how you made the decision? Because I think intellectually, I almost bet 100% you knew it was not the right decision to accept that trade-off, that they didn't have the money and you cut your price. You knew that this was not right. You still did it. And that's why you ask yourself, why did I get myself into this? And if you can share, if you can figure it out, what did you learn about you? What did you value then that you choose not to value today? What fear, what pain were you running away from back then that no longer you're willing to settle for that?
So back then, I was very early on in the 8A program at that time, and I wanted all the clients. Like, in my mind, if you were a federal agency and you are in my geographic region and you had work in our, bandwidth, I wanted to work with you. And now I don't have that desire anymore. Now it's not, can you provide me the work? And now it's, do you as a customer have the same values that I have? That's who I want to work with. It's not your money and your projects. It's your mentality, your values. Are those aligned? Because I don't want to just have employees and subcontractors that are aligned with our values. I want to have clients and owners that are aligned with our values too. I want to feel like we have a purpose. Like, we're building stuff, that's great. But one of the reasons I love working in the federal arena is because I feel like we're contributing to a greater good in some respects.
We're part of the larger mission of this country.
Yeah.
We're not in uniform, we can contribute. We feel proud of that.
Yeah.
Now, not every federal agency is equal, right? I love that. So you fire that client, right?
Oh, I've never worked for them since. And I told my SBA rep, if they ever have any other projects, I was like, you tell them I will never, ever work for them. Don't just say, no, she's not interested. Say no, never again.
And that's principle. Sometimes we cause our own thing. It's like I always compare, of course, when you have lived long enough, but I always compare relationships with clients or a project with a marriage. If you stepped into a relationship that you have been mistreated, although you gave 100%, you're not perfect, but you gave and you gave and you gave and you gave, and you were slapped and slapped and slapped and slapped and slapped, why would you even want to do it again? Yep. So divorce the client.
Yes.
Good. This is a great lesson. I am glad, you and I are so similar, but I think it's also the time we have been around. And this is also why I wanted to share with people. I love what you're saying, because it's what we're teaching too. Don't just do any type of work. If you don't value your work, who's going to value? And our industry needs to change. Our industry needs to change, not only the clients, but also if we don't value our work, they're not going to know who's going to value it, right? Now, if you had to do this all over again, how would you do it?
Oh, I would not change a single thing. I wouldn't change anything about what's happened, what I've done, the mistakes that I've made, the people that came and had to be pushed out the door to leave. Like, all of those things are just, I think, so important to where I'm at today. And yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
Tell me about the acquisition. I'm so curious. How do you acquire a company?
I have a feeling that I probably have one of the easier acquisition stories, because it was from my father. And I have two business partners. One of them is my brother, so that had made it a little easier for my dad to be like, oh, there's my kids. And then the other one his name is Derek, and he's from another company. He's been working with us for many years, and it was just a very important part of the company. So it was really important that we brought him on as an owner, because he really contributed and deserved that. And so my dad had a 5-year retirement plan that took him, I would say, about 12 years to execute. I would always make fun of his 5-year retirement plan, because it was 5 years, but it was going on forever. And we met with lawyers and accountants and had all these crazy ideas of how things were going to happen. And we ended up making it just so simple in the end. We have all these meetings about, oh, we'll do this and do that, and we'll transfer the contracts with these, legal documents and all this stuff. And during these meetings, we don't have any legal background, myself and my father. And we're like, can't we just do it like this? And we just throw out like these really simple, can't we just do that? And they're like, well, yeah, you can. So you hire lawyers, they're like engineers, right? They make everything super complex when sometimes it's just so simple. Sometimes it's just like, why not? Let's just cross the street. We don't need to zigzag all around the block. We just go right across. And my dad started reaching out to some of the clients that he had under Gowan Construction that I didn't have. Some of the utility companies, some of the property management firms. A lot of our other clients, we were both working under. So they would bid some projects and we would bid other ones. We always made sure there was very clear lines between the companies, and we never competed against one another. And so he would just start making phone calls, and he's like, I'm going to retire in the next 5 years, and I want my daughter's company to take over my company. what do we need to do to transfer the contract over to her? And it was that simple. And they were like, oh, well, let's start pre-qualifying her company and let's get them onboarded. And we'll just, when it's time for your master task agreement to renew, we'll just rewrite it to her company. It was so easy. It was like we were stressing for like 10 years, and it was like one simple phone call. And it was really that simple. That's how we brought the clients over, was really just a phone call. And then for the subcontractors, we worked with a lot of the same subcontractors. So there wasn't a whole lot of transition there. And then we did acquire all of the Gowan Construction employees. Even the subcontractors that maybe my firm wasn't working with, one of the PMs we brought over did work with them. They just said, hey, here's my new email. Here's the new company that I'm working for. Same team, same values, same clients. Your check's going to be signed by a different person. And so it was really simple. And we worked with our accountant and our lawyer to acquire the assets. So we took over the building lease and acquired the vehicles, the equipment, all of the office furniture. So there were those transactions that had to happen. And then on January 1st, everybody got a new paycheck, and just was probably the most simplest thing that we made so complex for so long. And then it was literally just some phone calls, because we had started the process about 2 years with the clientele before the actual closing of Gowan Construction happened. We only had 2 contracts that had to transfer over. So we transferred over a lot of stuff prior. So all the new contracts were rolling into GCJ, to my company, and they stopped writing contracts to Gowan Construction. And Gowan Construction only had 2 contracts that were still in construction that had to transfer over. And those ones were with a facility where GCJ had been working for years. And so they went to their legal team and they wrote like a novation, and they just assigned the contract from Gowan to GCJ, and we finished the project.
I do believe that, yes, while it was simple at the end, you guys took care of the toughest part, because I heard family members were transitioning into the new. I think taking care of all that family stuff, making sure that everybody was accounted for, employees that allowed to the company. I think you guys gave a lot of thought. The time you invested before it became simple is because all the more complex stuff was already taken care of. And it's not a transactional. You guys took care of what could have become a drama. That time probably was necessary, and you're not sharing, but I'm sure your father got compensated properly too. So where his peace of mind, his plan became a reality. So that's beautiful. I love beautiful stories like that. So I don't hear that kind of success in our industry, especially starting from scratch, not one company, but 2. So congratulations to you all. I am super proud of you.
Thank you.
I think I have to do part 2, but before I close, I want to ask, so you can share with the audience about this experience what was this for you, Latinas in Construction, this book that has all these amazing women in the construction industry that they have in common is that they're Latinas. So can you share some about this story? I'm grateful for it, because this is how we met. And not only we met, we were able to share beautiful moments and journeys and in California. And I think I made a friend through that book. So
I know I did.
Can you share, and also can you share about your journey after that with meditation? I know you got inspired.
I did. So when Tina called me to be in that book, I was like, why? Are you sure? Are you sure you have the right phone number? Like, who wants to hear my story? That's what I'm thinking. I was like, but okay, she was excited. I was so super excited. I was honored, humbled, excited. I couldn't wait to see what other successful ladies were going to be featured in the book. And really writing the story was kind of emotional. Like, I would find myself like having to walk away from it, being like, I'm getting too deep into this. But it was so cool to reflect on how I got where I was, because it's not something you do. You don't just sit back and think, wow, I did this and this is how I got here. It's just, or it's not something I do anyways. It was so great to have an opportunity to do that. And then to have the book launch and for us to all get together was amazing. It was like I met everybody, but I knew everyone at the same time, and we were all just immediately sisters. And it was so much fun. That was just the funnest weekend. I had a blast. And you and I, like, I remember us sitting together at dinner and just like effortlessly talking about everything, not just work, but everything. And then we were at the beach talking, and you had recommended Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I bought it on Amazon and had it shipped to my house while I was still there. And I bought your book, and I started reading your book on the ride home. And you, very early on in your book, you talk about meditation. And so I knew I had this book coming. So then I get home and the book's there, and I start reading that book. I think probably every one of us in the Latinas in Construction book, we're all overachievers, and we all have to go above and beyond and do everything to the 10th degree. And so I did. So then I'm on his website, and I'm like going down this rabbit hole of meditation. And I'm like, oh, he has a course, because I love to learn. I'm always looking for opportunities to learn. So I take the formula course, and I'm like listening to it in the mornings while I'm in the shower, and at night, and at my kids' football practice. I'm listening to the course and started meditating, because it's part of the course that you start doing meditation. And I remember texting you one day, do you remember this? And I'm like, dude, meditation is hard. 15 minutes was like torture. Like I could do like 5. I'd be like, okay, that's cool. 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, I got laundry. I'm thinking all this stuff I'm gonna do after I'm done meditating. I'm just like, when is this gonna be over? And I'm only up to about a 35-minute meditation right now that I can say is successful, of me like really clearing my mind. But it has been the best advice I have ever received. Like, I'm more patient with my kids. I'm more patient at work. My husband, who is like a complete hothead, he used to like, I would feed off of his energy and he'd be all upset. And so then I would get frustrated and be upset with him. And now that doesn't happen. He'll be upset about traffic or whatever, and I'm just like, it's okay. It's gonna be fine. We'll get there, you know? And it really has just changed how I walk through the world. And now my kids are seeing it, because I'll tell them in the morning, hey, I'm gonna meditate, go eat your breakfast, get in the shower, I'll be done in 30 minutes. And then I started telling them, hey, I'm gonna go meditate. Do you want me to put it on speaker? You can come in and join me if you want. And so they're like, yeah, put it on speaker. So I'll put it on speaker instead of my headphones. And every once in a while, I'll feel them. They'll come in, they'll lay their head on my lap, and they'll just lay there for like 5 minutes, and then they'll just walk away. And now they both are asking me, hey, Mom, can we meditate before we go to bed? Hey, Mom, I want to meditate before my football game. And
now, tell me the story about the football. I was so enjoyed when you said that, because I know what meditation has done for me. And I know how I was when I got a hold of that book. Somebody gave me the same advice. And the level of stress that I had, because our industry is very stressful. Our industry has high levels of suicide, and the level of stress that we go through, that we share with the people that we love. You know, we give sometimes to ourselves and the people we love, the worst of us, I guess, you know, because of the state. And everything else is affected by us leaders, what we do, whether it's in our houses. And when I said that to you, I share it with everyone. In my book is there. I honored, you know, the mentors, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, Rita G. There's so many people that I have learned from. And I honor it because it's not my word. In my experience is my experience. But the fact that you actually did it, and you're right, we're very similar. You know, high achievers. I did the same thing. I read the book in 2 days. I am like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was possible. This is the answer to all my... I was in a roller coaster of emotions, up and down, up and down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And what is there more? I took the class, I took the training, I took it online, I started meditating. And from there on, I was meditating day and night until a day. And of course, you want all your family to experience the level of joy and excitement and gratitude and wholeness that you feel peace when you're in this state of meditation. and I couldn't do 5 minutes like you. But I put myself through the test, and like you, I mean, the story that you told me about your son, and we just met 5 months ago. I started this journey 6 years ago, and what you are going to experience in your life, I'm so excited for you. So you just told me about your son, because I do know when nothing changes until we change. And you just gave me the example of your son. In my head, I'm like, oh, wait until your husband starts getting it.
I wish I could get him too.
Oh, no, you don't have to do anything. It's going to happen. You do not have to worry about it, because I know you guys work together, and when he is on board with this new acquisition, you guys are in your way out at 100 million. I predict it, I declare it, and I'm excited, because at that level of leadership, you're going to transform that area where you are. I'm so excited for you, because what happened to your son?
So my 9-year-old son he asked me, he said, Mom, can we do a meditation before my football game? So it was just last weekend. So sure. And so I find little short YouTube meditation videos, like little 5-10 minute ones, because he's 9. And so I found one, and it was for like inspiration for the day. It was like a morning inspiration meditation. And so that's the one I chose for him, and we did it. And after we did the meditation, I asked him, I was like, so what did you think about when you were meditating? He was like, oh, I was imagining old games where he's the quarterback. He was like, where I threw and they caught the pass, and old games where I ran and I got a touchdown. So he was remembering those feelings of previous success on the football field. And so then later, my husband comes to me that evening, and he was like, after the game, Amarion comes to me and he tells me, Dad, I think that meditation stuff works. What I thought about happened today during my game.
That's so beautiful.
I know. I couldn't have been more proud, even just when he asks me, and my 11-year-old too, even when they just ask me, Mom, can we do a meditation? It just makes me so proud. Like, oh my God, you guys are like the future, and you are already like light years beyond when I was that age. Like, if they can, and my 11-year-old goes to Bikram yoga with me. He does. He only does the last half, but he does. My 11-year-old loves Bikram.
Yeah, me too. You're going to just receive so much more from that decision, making that decision to change. And I'm glad God has put me in your path, in your journey. I'm so proud of you.
My next story is going to have you in it. You're part of my next story. I hope you realize that.
What do you mean?
When you referenced your friend that she gave you that book and changed your life, you did that for me.
Yeah. Because sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. And what you're going to experience is the power of when a leader changes, somebody that impacts so many lives and so many people, that every day you wake up and you're thinking, how do I make the life of my employees better? How do I make my clients better? How do I make my family better? How do I make myself better? When you ask that kind of question from a place of love, abundance, and gratitude, it's exponential. And the fact that you're seeing the change in you with people that you love, like your son, then it's going to be your husband, then it's going to be your family, then it's going to be your employees, your leaders, and it's going to replicate, because this is a gift that keeps on giving. And I shared it with you. We spent a day and a half together, and it got onto you, but it's because somebody else decided to do this, and I got a hold of it. So sometimes, these journeys that we go through, if I had not gone through the level of pain that I went through when I got a hold of that book, Joe Dispenza book, I would never have experienced this level of joy and gratitude in this life. So I am very grateful for what I went through. And it is my kind of the message that I am inspired to give to people that are listening to us when we are going through tough challenges, and we are going through stuff that, oh my gosh, like you shared, why did I get myself into this? It is the anticipation of greatness. It is the anticipation of the best version that we can have about ourselves. It's the anticipation of the biggest miracle that is about to be uncovered. And mark my words, and I want you to call me, that day your husband does this thing that you're
Oh.
like, oh my God, how
I
did it
will.
happen? You are gonna promise that you'll call me because
Oh, I definitely will.
it will happen with mine. And I have a beautiful story I share about that. I think this episode is the longest episode. But my husband, I'll share it because why not? We could just cut it if it's too long. But my husband, when we were going through that challenge, I didn't tell him you should meditate because we shouldn't be telling our husbands what to do, especially us. We shouldn't do that. We should influence with our behavior, with our actions. And we just silently, without trying to judge them. And so he knew I would wake up every night at 2, go to another room because I couldn't sleep. I was so worried, addicted to worry. And I would go read the Bible because, of course, I changed my focus. I didn't know what I was doing. And I would fall asleep. This is my pattern, right? When I started meditating, I would meditate when I would wake up. And if I have time to worry, let me just meditate. So I was meditating. And one day, something really tough was happening that time that I cannot even remember at this point, but it was difficult. And he wakes up, we wake up early, but he wakes up and he went to look for me in that room, but I was meditating. So I had done an hour meditation from Joe Dispenza. I was waking up from the meditation and my joy and my gratitude, my expression was like the one I was seeing. I was like in heaven, I think. I don't know how to explain it, but nothing, you could see my expression and you could not understand I had an issue. You couldn't see it. When I opened my eyes, he's in front of me and he had tears in his eyes because he could not comprehend how it's possible that she has this reflection in her face when all of this is happening. It was complete pattern interrupt that from where was the Patricia that he knew. And he immediately started meditating. I didn't have to say meditate because my state of being gave him the inspiration to do it. So you, my friend, you keep doing that. Everyone in your family is going to change. Everyone you come in contact with, you are being empowered beyond what you can imagine. And the encounter that we have, being in this book, that we thank our friend Tina for inviting us, already gave the most incredible gift because you are a superstar that is shining onto the world. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Thriving in Construction, the podcast with Patricia Bonilla. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to help support the podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating or review on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. If you have any suggestions or any related topics you would like us to tackle in our future episodes, feel free to reach Patricia by sending her a message on LinkedIn, Thriving in Construction. Thanks for listening. See you in our next episode in Thriving in Construction, the podcast.